When I was 3 years old, I had a very peculiar dream. In this dream, my brother, Jasper, was a character in a romance novel. But he wasn't the dashing hero. Oh no. He was the second male lead, the devoted, wealthy, handsome guy who exists solely to be a doormat for the female lead, Tessa. I saw my future unfold like a tragic movie. Jasper would become completely obsessed with Tessa. He would neglect his business, his health, and most importantly, me. He would spend millions buying her gifts she didn't want, solving problems she created, and wiping tears she shed for another man. In the end, when Tessa inevitably married the main male lead, a cold, ruthless CEO named Xavier, my brother would hand over his entire fortune as a wedding gift, claiming he just wanted her to be happy. And us? Jasper and I would end up destitute. We'd live in a tiny, moldy apartment, eating instant noodles and listening to the neighbors scream at each other through paper-thin walls. I woke up from that dream sweating in my princess bed. I looked at my brother, who was currently on the phone, cooing softly to Tessa about her difficult day. I have to stop this, I whispered to my teddy bear. I tried everything my 3-year-old brain could conceive. When Tessa called him late at night, sobbing about a thunderstorm, I burst into tears and clung to his leg, screaming that I was scared of monsters. He sighed, patted my head, and left anyway. When she had period cramps, I deliberately spit up my milk all over my onesie so he'd have to stay and change me. He just handed me to Nanny Lisa and rushed out the door with a hot water bottle and chocolate. At her graduation performance, I sang, "Only Brother is the Best in the World," loudly during the quiet part. He looked embarrassed and shushed me. I realized the problem wasn't me. It was him. He was broken. His simp circuit was overloaded. So, I made a serious decision. I needed a new brother. And who better than the man destined to win? The villain of my brother's story. The rival. The guy who lived in the scary mansion next door. Xavier. Chapter 2, The Great Escape. Xavier was everything my brother wasn't. He was cold, calculating, and efficient. Rumor had it he hated children and ate business competitors for breakfast. Perfect. He also had a border collie named Meatball. I liked dogs. Yesterday was my 3rd birthday. Nanny Lisa dressed me in a scratchy pink dress and sat me at the dining table with a cake that was clearly store-bought. We waited for Jasper. And waited. At 8 p.m., he called. "Riley, sweetie, I'm so sorry." Tessa twisted her ankle. "I have to take her to the hospital. Blow out the candles for me, okay?" Nanny Lisa tried to comfort me. "Don't be sad, Riley. Once Miss Tessa becomes your sister-in-law, 2 people will love you." I knew the truth. She'd never be my sister-in-law. She was just using him. So, I decided to execute Operation New Brother. I waited until Nanny Lisa went into the bathroom to gossip on the phone with her boyfriend. I grabbed my security blanket, a soft, tattered thing with stars on it, and my favorite stuffed rabbit. I snuck out the back door. The garden was dark and full of shadows, but I was on a mission. I crawled through the loose plank in the fence that Meatball used to visit our yard, to pee on Jasper's prize roses. 20 minutes later, I stood at Xavier's massive, imposing front door. The mansion looked like a vampire's castle. Dark, silent, intimidating. I took a deep breath, spread my blanket on the cold stone steps, and curled up like a little shrimp. If he doesn't open the door, I'll just freeze, I thought dramatically. Then Jasper will be sorry. Just as my eyes were getting heavy, I heard barking. Then, footsteps. The heavy door swung open. A slipper nearly stepped on my face. What the? A deep voice cut off abruptly. I sat up, rubbing my eyes. In the moonlight, a tall figure loomed over me. He was wearing a silk robe, slightly open at the collar, revealing pale skin and sharp collarbones. His eyes were dark and narrowed in confusion. Why is there a child on my porch? Xavier muttered to himself. Before I could answer, a black and white blur shot past his legs. Woof! Meatball pounced on me. His wet nose sniffed all over my face, his tail wagging so hard his whole body shook. Meatball! Xavier scolded. That is not a stray cat. You can't keep it. Meatball whined pitifully but refused to move. He put his paws on my shoulders and licked my cheek. I giggled. This was my chance. I scrambled up and hugged Xavier's leg. It was like hugging a tree trunk. Brother, pick me up, I demanded. Xavier froze. He looked down at me like I was a radioactive isotope. Meatball, sensing his master's hesitation, grabbed the back of my collar with his teeth and gently dragged me inside. Hey! Silly dog, stop! Xavier tried to intervene, but Meatball was determined. He dragged me into the grand foyer and dropped me on the expensive Persian rug. I let go of my collar and immediately climbed up Xavier's leg again, using him as a jungle gym. Get down, he said coldly. I shook my head and buried my face in the fabric of his robe. Riley's cold. His body stiffened even more, but he didn't pull me off. He just stood there, awkward and unsure. Does Jasper know you're here? He asked finally. I pouted, summoning tears on command. Brother doesn't want Riley anymore. My sleeve slipped down, revealing the purple bruises on my wrist. Xavier's expression changed instantly. The annoyance vanished, replaced by something sharper. Dangerous. He grabbed my wrist gently. What happened here? I shrank back, playing the victim. Riley hurts. Actually, I got that bruise crawling under the coffee table to retrieve a marble. But Xavier didn't need to know that. Jasper did this? Xavier's voice dropped an octave. I didn't answer. I just lowered my head and sniffled. Silence was the best confirmation. Xavier took a deep breath. I could see the anger simmering behind his eyes. Meatball ran over with his food bowl and dropped it at my feet. Clatter. He looked at Xavier expectantly. Xavier looked at the dog helplessly. It's 2 a.m. Meatball barked. Feed the tiny human. I rubbed my stomach. Riley's hungry. Meatball immediately dropped a piece of kibble at my feet. Xavier rubbed his temples. I'll heat up some milk. Don't eat the dog food. He pointed a warning finger at Meatball. And don't hide her in your bed. Meatball tilted his head, feigning innocence. Chapter 3, The Milk and the Monster. 10 minutes later, Xavier returned to the living room with 2 bowls of warm milk. One for me, one for the dog. Meatball's ears perked up. Sit, Xavier commanded. Meatball sat up straight, posture perfect. I blinked. I imitated him. I sat up straight, hands on my knees. Woof, I said softly. Xavier's hand froze midair. He looked at me with genuine horror. What are you doing? Dining etiquette, I said solemnly. At home, Nanny Lisa teaches me this way. Xavier's brows knitted together. She makes you bark like a dog? I nodded. She said it's aristocratic etiquette. One time I didn't bark, and she told my brother I was eating with my hands like a savage. Technically, she just called me a little animal when I was messy, but artistic license was necessary here. Xavier placed the milk in front of me. His face was dangerously dark. That nanny still works at your house? Yeah. I took a sip. Miss Lisa also taught me how ponies drink water. Want to see, brother? I leaned down to lap at the bowl. Xavier snatched the bowl away. No. Use the cup. He handed me a mug. His thumb gently traced the bruise on my wrist again. Jasper, he muttered. That fool. I finished my milk and looked up at him with big, hopeful eyes. Brother. Jasper doesn't want me anymore. Can you take me in? I don't eat much. I take up very little space. Xavier looked at me. In my dream, I knew he had a little sister once. She died young because of a congenital heart defect. He never got to spoil her. That loss was part of what made him so cold. I'm usually very busy, he said, rubbing his forehead. I don't have time to take care of a kid. I held up 3 fingers. Riley will be very good. I can eat by myself, sleep by myself, play by myself. Meatball suddenly dashed into the living room, dragged his massive, fluffy dog bed over to my feet, and barked proudly. Xavier stared at him. She's not a puppy. She can't sleep with you. You'll crush her. Meatball whined, nudging my hand. Finally, Xavier sighed. It was the sigh of a man accepting his fate. If you don't cause trouble, I can let you stay for a few days. Thank you, brother. Thank you, Meatball. I hugged the dog. Meatball licked my ear. Bedtime, Xavier announced. He picked me up by the back of my collar, just like a kitten, and carried me upstairs. He put me in a guest room. It was huge and empty. Sleep, he ordered. He turned off the light and left. The room plunged into darkness. Shadows stretched across the walls like claws. The tree outside tapped against the window. Tap. 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 I clutched my blanket. I couldn't do it. I climbed out of bed and padded down the hallway. A sliver of light leaked from under a door at the end. I pushed it open. Xavier was in bed, reading documents. He wore reading glasses that made him look smart and scary. Meatball was on the rug. He saw me and thumped his tail. What now? Xavier asked without looking up. Riley scared of the dark, I whispered. Miss Lisa said monsters come for bad kids at night. Xavier looked up. He stared at me shivering in the doorway in my pajamas. You're 3 years old, he said. If I don't sleep, the monsters will take me, I said, my voice trembling. Xavier stared at me for a full 10 seconds. Then he closed his file folder. Come here. I ran over. Meatball tried to jump on the bed too. Not you, Xavier said to the dog. He pointed to a chaise lounge in the corner. You sleep over there. He was talking to me. I climbed onto the sofa and wrapped myself in my blanket. Meatball, disobeying orders, came over and lay on the rug right next to me, his head resting on the cushion near my feet. Xavier turned off the main light, leaving a small night light on. "Good night," he said gruffly. "Good night, brother." I fell asleep listening to the sound of his breathing. It was much better than listening to Nanny Lisa snore. Chapter 4, The Discovery. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of bacon. Xavier was in the kitchen. He was wearing an apron over his suit. It looked ridiculous. "Eat," he said, placing a plate of eggs and bacon in front of me. I ate. It was delicious. "Brother, aren't you going to work?" I asked with a mouthful of egg. "I'm working from home today," he said, tapping on his tablet. Actually, he was waiting. He was waiting for Jasper to realize I was gone and come frantically knocking on the door. He waited all morning. He waited all afternoon. By dinner time, Xavier's expression was thunderous. "He hasn't called," he asked his assistant on the phone. "Not even a police report?" I sat on the floor, coloring a picture of Meatball eating Jasper. "No, sir," the assistant replied. "Jasper left for a business trip to the coast this morning. With Miss Tessa." Xavier hung up. He looked at me. "Your brother," he said slowly, "is an idiot." "I know," I said cheerfully. Xavier made a call. "Find out where the nanny is." 10 minutes later, we had the answer. Nanny Lisa had realized I was gone around 9 a.m. Instead of calling Jasper and admitting she lost me, she packed her bags and ran away, fearing she'd be sued or arrested. She was currently on a bus to Ohio. "Perfect," Xavier whispered. A cruel, villainous smile spread across his face. "Isn't Jasper's company negotiating that East Side real estate project right now?" he asked me, as if I understood corporate mergers. I nodded anyway. "Yes. Big building. Good." Xavier picked me up. "Let's go buy you some clothes. You can't wear pajamas forever." We went to the mall. Xavier didn't know how to shop for kids. He just pointed at mannequins and said, "That one. And that one. In every color." He bought me a wardrobe fit for a princess. He bought me toys. He bought Meatball a diamond-encrusted collar because he's guarding the asset. I was the asset. Chapter 5, The Parent-Teacher Conference. A week passed. I was living my best life. Xavier was strict. He made me eat my vegetables and go to bed on time, but he actually paid attention to me. He read me stories, mostly financial reports, but his voice was soothing. He let Meatball sleep in my room. Then, the kindergarten called. "Hello, is this Riley's guardian?" The teacher asked when Xavier answered my burner phone, which I had stolen from home. "Speaking," Xavier said. "We have a parent-teacher conference today. Riley hasn't been to school in a week." "We'll be there," Xavier said. He dressed me in a little navy blue dress that matched his suit. We looked like a power couple, if one of the couple was 3 feet tall. When we walked into the classroom, the teacher blinked. "Mr. Xavier," he said. "I'm Riley's guardian." The other parents whispered. Everyone knew Xavier. He was the city's most feared bachelor. "Where is Jasper?" the teacher asked nervously. "Jasper is unavailable," Xavier said coolly. "He is currently busy losing his company." The conference went well. The teacher said I was bright but imaginative. I told the other kids my brother was eaten by a dragon. As we were leaving, a disheveled figure burst through the school gates. It was Jasper. He looked terrible. Unshaven, wrinkled suit, dark circles under his eyes. "Riley," he shouted, spotting me. He ran over, looking relieved. "Oh my God, Riley." I came home and the house was empty. The nanny was gone. "I thought you were kidnapped." He reached for me. I hid behind Xavier's leg. Jasper froze. He looked up and saw Xavier. "You?" Jasper's face went red. "What are you doing with my sister?" Xavier smirked. He placed a hand on my head. "Saving her from neglect," Xavier said smoothly. "You were gone for a week, Jasper. You didn't even notice she was missing until you got back." "I was working." Jasper defended himself. "I was securing the East Side deal." About that, Xavier checked his watch. "My team just closed the East Side deal 10 minutes ago. While you were running around looking for the sister you forgot." Jasper turned pale. "What?" "That deal, that was my company's lifeline." "You should have paid more attention," Xavier said. Jasper looked at me. "Riley, come here. Come to Bubby." I looked at him. I remembered the cold nights. I remembered the nanny. I remembered him choosing Tessa over me every single time. I shook my head. "I don't know you." Jasper recoiled as if slapped. "Riley?" "It's me. Jasper. I was only gone for a month." Jasper cried, his voice cracking. "Not deceased. Why don't you recognize me?" Xavier pulled a lollipop from his pocket, organic, sugar-free, strawberry-flavored. He unwrapped it and handed it to me. "Sweetie," Xavier said, his voice dripping with triumphant malice. "How about we get you a new brother? One who knows how to use a calendar." I took the lollipop. "Okay." Jasper dropped to his knees. "No." "Riley." Chapter 6, The Custody Battle. Jasper didn't give up. He tried to take me back. But Xavier had lawyers. Lots of them. He presented evidence of the bruises, documented by a private doctor. He presented the police report about the runaway nanny. He presented flight logs showing Jasper was in Cabo with Tessa while I was missing. The court granted Xavier temporary custody. Jasper fell apart. Without the East Side deal, his company stock plummeted. He had spent so much money on Tessa that he had no liquidity left. Tessa, realizing the money tap had run dry, dumped him. "I need a man who is stable," she told him. "Not one who loses his sister and his company." She tried to make a move on Xavier. She showed up at our mansion one day, wearing a white dress, looking like a fragile flower. "Xavier," she said, batting her eyelashes. "I heard you're taking care of Riley." "That's so sweet. I've always loved children." Meatball growled low in his throat. Xavier looked at her. "Get off my property before I release the hounds." "But..." "Meatball, attack," I whispered. Meatball didn't attack, but he did run forward and shake muddy water all over her white dress. Tessa shrieked and ran away. Epilogue. 3 years later. I am 6. I am starting first grade. Xavier is dropping me off. He is wearing a suit, but his tie is slightly crooked because I tied it for him. "Be good," he says. "Don't bite anyone." "I won't, I promise." Jasper is there too. He is dropping off a delivery. He works for a logistics company now. He looks older, tired, but clearer. He waved at me shyly from his truck. I waved back. Just a little. He learned his lesson. He lost everything to learn it, but he learned. I hopped out of Xavier's car. Meatball barked from the back seat. Love you, brother, I yelled. Xavier smiled. It wasn't a villain smile anymore. Love you too, Menace. I skipped into school. The future had changed. No tiny apartment. No screaming neighbors. Just me, my villain brother, and a dog named Meatball. And we lived happily ever after.